What up, what up, what up? It's another great episode of the Sick Podcast Rams Recap, where I'm in a mood. I'm not happy with yesterday's results, the Eagles game, but we're going to dive right into it. Sammy, hit the intro.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Rams Recap with LaQuan Jones.
They rush forward. Burrow to throw for it. He's hit. He's hit. He's sacked. He throws it away. He flings it away on fourth down. Aaron Donald got there, and you can build that man's statue out SoFi Stadium right now. The greatest of all time on defense does it in the biggest moment of Super Bowl 56.
The sickest Los Angeles Rams podcast. It's gonna be sick.
We are back for another great episode, and I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers that are coming in and showing support for the podcast. Man, I love you guys jumping in the comments, interacting with us, and listen, this is going to be a honest podcast, and I have to be honest about my Rams, and I'm not happy about that performance at the crib against those birds, the Eagles. And honestly, we had a game plan, obviously, out of the gate. Like, I just want to roll into my frustration. Let's get my frustrations out of the way. Now, my frustrations before this game was that we were doing cold starts. We were going in, just kind of lollygagging, trying to establish the run, but not in the best way. I gave the cop out these last couple of weeks to the O-line. Now, I can't really say that about this Eagles game because we started off hot. We had things going. Matthew Stafford running out of the pocket, getting one of his longest runs of the season, which is very rare of him to be coming out of the pocket like that, extending the play. What showed is that we're going to start off fast, we're going to start off hard, and we're going to run it down their throats with Kyren Williams busting off a long run as well. But then things became difficult once we started driving. Once we started getting to striking distance, Kyren Williams fumbles. And man, like I said on this pod, I don't want to single guys out, but the topic of context is Kyren Williams right now of dropping that ball, putting it on the ground, giving the Eagles opportunity to steal momentum. And it's honestly like frustrating, when we're already struggling on third down, we're already struggling in red zone, we're already struggling to make field goals. Now we're struggling with 4 punts on the night, only one loss, 4 fumbles on the night, and only one loss. But it's more so of like, why are we giving defenses the opportunity to jump on us? Why are we not taking advantage of our opportunities? And I just want to start off there. You go off, you start off hot, and then we let the Eagles capitalize. They go on and score a field goal. Then it's like, okay, we got it. We answer right back. We were responding in the strongest way, which the Rams do, in most cases through the histories with Sean McVay since 2017. We have a response team. We have a response plan. But then things started going off the rail once Saquon Barkley started busting off runs. And look, got the ambulance coming, man, because they already hear my frustration in my voice of where I'm getting to the point now where, like, when do we start to see Blake Corum? When do we start seeing, some of the guys that we drafted where Kyren Williams obviously needs a hand. He needs a backup because there's too many bad mistakes happening, with this O-line, with Kyren Williams, where I think Blake Corum has earned his touches, has earned the opportunities to go in to show what he has. I mean, yards per carry, I'm not even going to look at that stat because, again, it goes back to the O-line, how he's affected and how Kyren Williams affected. But it's more so of like when Kyren is not really showing that much burst in runs. And again, he had a great game. He was a very efficient running back. He had a great game with the 15 plus touches. And I really feel as though it's not enough. We need more of a rushing attack to try to run down these throats, because when we look at the Eagles defense, I thought this was a game of opportunity where we can go out there, run the ball down their throat, test those DBs back there in that secondary where you saw times where Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp were going down the field, where Cooper DeJean played a great game as well. But he always wasn't able to cover Cooper Kupp. He wasn't always able to cover Puka Nacua as well. He's only one man. And Quinyon Mitchell, I wasn't too impressed with his performance, but that goes to our wide receivers on the perimeter, how difficult they are to cover. But it's more so of like, there's just the little things, man. And then coming out of the half, this is a Rams recap pod, man. Coming out of the half, I almost wanted to shut the game off seeing Saquon run 70-plus yard run straight out of the half. We're supposed to be a defense that makes the adjustments. We had them 13-7 at that point, but then this is where the Eagles started gaining momentum. Saquon Barkley started getting his game breaker, started getting hot. We cannot let that happen for the rest of the season because we're going to be honest. This is one of the biggest tests that we had if we're going to set the tone, because this time last year we were sitting around that 5-6 mark. This was a big test of where we're at and if we can make the adjustments kind of on a half, and it did not happen. Guys, this is going to get uglier next week when we have to face Alvin Kamara, because the Saints are a top 10 rushing attack. This is an offense where we cannot sleep on. We can't go in with the game plan that we had last week for the Eagles to stop Saquon, because obviously that was scratch. When we're looking at the secondary, we got to have guys being down there to stop Saquon. We need a thumper. We need somebody that can come down and try to capitalize on Saquon Barkley hitting the second level. We didn't have that. When Saquon's running off for 70 yards, we have Jared Verse, who was lined up on the right side of the line. He shouldn't be the man trying to chase down Saquon Barkley. This guy is an edge rusher. Why is he the one all the way in the back of the secondary chasing down Saquon Barkley? And I say all this to say, next week, we need to make the adjustments. We need to get guys that are going to complete the tackles, guys that are going to come down and lay the wood. Alvin Kamara is one of the most explosive backs in the league. So therefore, coming off of Saquon Barkley, it's going to be difficult to try to go in with a game plan that we did last week, because it's like our linebackers, our secondary, they're missing tackles. We're top 10 in missed tackles, people. Top 10, ranked at 7 for most missed tackles on runs. That is a huge problem that we need to address so we can go on this playoff run. I do believe that the Rams need to win every single game from now on to even sniff the playoff position, being that our division, it's up and down. I don't believe in the Cardinals. They're the most sus team in our division. The Seahawks, I am not scared of the Seahawks because we already put them to bed. We could do it again. I really feel as though the 49ers, as much as it brings joy to my heart, they're on the downfall. They're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with Brock Purdy right now with his injury. I don't know what's going on with Debo. He's not as explosive as he used to be as compared to last season. And George Kittle, he seems to be the man over there, but more so I'm looking at George Kittle. He's kind of risky with his injuries as well. So the division is up for grabs, and this is where the Rams need to win every single game from now on, and it starts with this Saints game. Looking at the game plan, like I said, cannot be last week. We need to just suffocate Alvin Kamara. There's not many, big playmakers over there other than MVS on the deep ball. I understand that, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, they're two different running backs, but they're both explosive. We cannot let this happen. And I want to touch on one of the other frustrations I have. Joshua Cardi, Playboy Cardi, I like to call him, man. We got to make these field goal kicks. These are points on the table that we honestly need to stay in competitiveness, because when you look at the missed field goal that we had in the third quarter, after that, we let the freaking Eagles go down there and make a field goal. So therefore, the game's already being pulled away. It's 27-14. Then after that, our next drive, we punt. On the next drive after that, we get a touchdown. The game's already out of the way where we can't really catch up. So it's more so let's not play catch up in the second half with the Saints. Let's hit them in the mouth early, how we started off the Eagles game, and then we should be on the right page to win out for the rest of the season. Another frustration is the red zone, obviously, but man, 0-8 on third down last week cannot happen this week against the Saints. Third down, we are literally the second worst team in the NFL when it comes to that. That's one of the big crucial areas that we need to adjust, to fix, because Matthew Stafford can't do it all. It's not just on him. It's guys that dropping the ball. It's guys not getting open. Kyron Williams not really a big threat on third down either, being that we're probably the worst team when it comes to pass blocking on third down as well. Kyron Williams was getting ripped yesterday, like literally ripped when it comes to pass blocking. Coming from Notre Dame, that's one of his specialties, was in pass blocking. And like I said, I don't mean to single guys out, but Kyron Williams had himself a bad day yesterday, and I don't know trending forward how we make the adjustments, how we get him better on the same page of just assignments. Because like I said, he had a great game on the ground, but it didn't help us to victory. It didn't help us, put up a fight. It's more so the defense let us down. The offense stalled at times, and third down is a huge, huge problem. So now next where I want to transition is more so what is the bigger picture when it comes to this division? What is the bigger picture to get to the playoffs? I mean, honestly, I know people that, are looking at this as like the season's over. Like I've seen Rams Twitter. It's not over. Like I want to get you guys right back on track where we need to be, and then us believing into this team because we're not a bad team. Bigger picture, looking at the playoffs, when we look at the next couple of weeks right now, when we pull up the schedule for you real quick, next couple of weeks, man, like I said, the next coming game is the Saints. We can win against Buffalo. That'll be another test, but more so, we're going to have to focus on containing Josh Allen. Reason why I feel as though we can win this game is based on their big weapons like Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir. When you look at Keon Coleman, who's been out for some time, by the time we get to this game, honestly, when it comes to week 14, I honestly think that, Keon Coleman should be back, but the main focus should be on Khalil Shakir in that slot. That's Josh Allen's number one target. So I think that is a winnable game if we maintain Josh Allen out of the pocket, if we maintain Khalil Shakir. Just let James Cook does what James Cook does because he's been running well this season, but he's not a huge threat as much as Alvin Kamara or Saquon Barkley. Then we look at San Francisco, and they're on the downfall in week 15. At this point, we should know if we're sniffing the playoffs, if we're going to the playoffs. We need to win the next 3 games just to be able to sit in that seed. Honestly, I'm not worried about the Cardinals or Seahawks. Like I said, in that division, I'm not too convinced that the Cardinals are any threatening. The Seahawks, let them come our way. We'll put them back down to bed because, again, DK Metcalf, he was not a factor. When you look at Geno Smith, they look terrible. And honestly, I really feel as though JSN, he'll probably be the biggest threat on that offense, but I think we could bottle him up as well. Then we go to the Jets and their Jersey Shore storyline. It is a bunch of drama over there with Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers will be on the roster by the time this game happens in week 16. That'll be a Christmas week game. So honestly, maybe a Christmas gift. We go to the playoffs and seal the deal there. Our last 2 games, the most important games, believe it or not, where I think all our starters should be in, and it's against the Cardinals and it's against the Seahawks. These 2 games will be very important where we can shut them down for any momentum, shut them down for any thoughts of hitting a playoff. Because when we go to the playoffs, and I say this with confidence, I know I was confident last week about the Eagles taking the L, but more so, I'm confident that we have the opportunity to go to the playoffs if we complete the next 3 games, and honestly, hoping that the Seahawks and Cardinals show and reveal themselves as suspect teams. I'm not scared of Kyler Murray. I'm not scared of Geno Smith at quarterback. Our defense can show up and show out. Our secondary, listen, Jalen Hurts is a lot to handle, especially when you have swole Batman and A.J. Brown. Like I said, we're not facing any huge threats when it comes to that level of what we just faced. We know where we're at now. We know what we need to adjust. It's on 3rd down, red zone, stop the run. That's it. 3 things. Red zone, 3rd down, stop the run. That's all the Rams need to really get back on track to make this strong playoff push. I honestly don't know what it's going to take, for our guys to get on the tackle, but we need some guys next season if we're going to look in the draft or off season across the board on that defense to stop the run, to be able to stop missing tackles. That is the exclamation point I want to put on this episode, man. And again, I'm rambling again. It is what it is. This is a one-man show where I just voice my frustrations, and hopefully you guys can engage in the comments to understand or relate to some of my frustrations with this Rams team. Because again, this is a great team. This is a good team. I mean, when we're looking at the defense, we have some big playmakers. Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk. Let's jump to the trenches real quick. Even though the game was bad, Braden Fisk is showing up and showing out, man. He is putting a stop to any of the doubts that people had of him coming into the draft. He has a unlimited motor and he's showing up, man. It's definitely encouraging for the future of the young defensive line that we have, that these guys are going to be able to build for the next coming years, man. You look at the 2 sacks he's had and you look at the stops in the run game where he's making a huge impact as well. And honestly, looking at Braden Fisk, man, I honestly think that the comparison that I want to have is close to an Aaron Donald, where he's stopping the run and where he's getting after quarterbacks and how relentless he is in the trenches. But I've mentioned this before. It's a collective group here. When you look at Byron Young, what he was able to do, but he was having trouble against Lane Johnson, man. I had to be honest and say, Eagles game, I kind of wanted Jared Verse to stay on that side to go against Lane Johnson. But more so, looking at this defense as a collective, they're going to have to show up next week, man. You're going to have to get after Derek Carr, get him off his game, keep the deep ball down to a minimum, but more so this defense, man, this defensive line, I mean, it's something to feel, the improvement that they have been going throughout this entire season. They've just been getting better and better and better. Like the last couple of weeks, we were talking about Jared Verse. Now we're on the Braden Fish train. Byron Young, he was making flashes last year. Kobe Turner, the conductor, obviously doing what he does in the middle of the field as well. He is showing up and showing out just like the rest of these guys. So again, our D-line is the shining star of our defense right now. I don't know if anybody else would agree with that, but honestly, they're the only ones that I feel as though that are showing up and showing out each and every week. Where this young secondary, they're kind of disciplined at times, and then they're not, but then it's the missed tackles. It's just the awareness of where guys are at. AJ Brown, man, and AJ Brown. But listen, there's going to be some studs that they're going to have to face on the side of the ball, not just this season, but for next season as well. So I'm not too sure what we got to do, and I don't need to see stats. I don't even need just, to read off a bunch of numbers of where we need to improve to say why this game was bad against the Eagles and what we need to do against the Saints. Just watching it, man. Honestly, my real reactions to this game, I had to turn it off. After Saquon Barkley ran back that last touchdown, I was done. As a fan, you get tired. There's a limit, when you see the same mistakes and you see the same things over and over. But hopefully next week, or this week, I should say, we have a better game plan and more things on the horizon for better play between the zone line, third down, red zone, and stopping the run. Oh, man. So this wraps up today's episode. I really don't have much left. It's more so of just frustration and me venting the entire time. It's more so, I'm just sick and tired of the same stuff, man. But hopefully my Rams, they uplift me this week. And it was good to see, Manchester United. I'm a huge soccer fan, with the new coach Ruben coming in, and I like the new formation that we got in. It's similar to the formation that we played in. Now I'm rambling about soccer because I have nothing else to touch on with my Rams, but this is a Rams podcast, everything LA. But make sure you guys like and subscribe, man, and catch me next week. Well, this week, the Friday show, we're going to have a guest on, and hopefully, they show up and show out with better spirits and get my spirits up, about how my Rams would do against the Saints team. So that wraps up the episode, and I'll see you guys this week for another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Rams Recap.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Rams Recap with LaQuan Jones on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.